This week on the podcast, we have Uber and Lyft again with a huge data leak of drivers. We have a DoorDash driver assaulting a food employee. We have DoorDash accessing your iPhone information. We have Uber Teen, and we have the potential of another thousands of drivers in the New York City area no longer being able to work for the rideshare companies. All this coming up right after this.
Well, the midnight headlight, blinding on a rainy night, street grade up ahead, slowing down and taking no time. I gotta keep it rolling. Those in the windshield wipers snapping out the tempo, playing puppet rhythm with the song on the radio.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Rideshare Rodeo podcast, the most downloaded podcast globally for the gig economy. You guys, here we go. I know a lot of you have done a very good job even up until now. A lot of people that don't want to be on TikTok or have avoided TikTok at all costs. I understand where you're coming from. I do have a TikTok profile. I do have a TikTok presence at Rideshare Rodeo for those interested, by the way. But for those of you that have avoided it, no worries. Don't worry anymore. Now you can start a TikTok anyway because Uber and Lyft, unfortunately, they leaked your social security number and other crucial information if you were on the Uber or Lyft platform or Uber Eats. If you were on Uber or Uber Eats or Lyft, your information got leaked to Meta and to TikTok. Yes, TikTok, the one that all of you are afraid of. They didn't have my social security number until now, until the leak. And I've had an account for 2.5 years with TikTok. So again, I'd say no harm, no foul, but huge harm, huge foul. This is a big deal, and it should be taken as such. I'm not really seeing what's going to happen yet. Again, I always wonder where this money goes. Like when they sue that, when they have to say, "Oh, our bad, we did that." First of all, just understand they never, ever, ever come out and say to the FTC or to anybody, "Hey, we just had a leak and we need to file it." And again, that's the procedure. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to come forth and say, "Hey, this happened. Not really sure what to do about it." Or, like, it is what it is. Here's the report. You're supposed to file a report. Every time this happens, every single time, you guys can try and go find one that they disclosed on their own. Every single time they get caught. And every single time, the first question is, did you know about this? And the answer, because they're under oath and things of that nature, are 90% of the time, yes, we were aware. And then they just take the fines that they were fined for not coming forth about the information, and they just pay those fines. Where do those fines go? Because if those fines go back to the FTC, then the FTC needs to do a much better job. And I've had discussions with some people in that organization who seem to very much understand what's going on. In which case, I would challenge this as to, well, where's the money going? Because that money should be going back into taking these companies apart when they do this kind of crap. Should be going to, maybe it's all going towards this RICO. Who knows? Maybe it is going to a good place, but it's a question I would like answered, and I'm sure you would too. Yeah, this one is a complete security breach. The last one of this size was about 4 years ago. There have been thousands. Pretty much data breaches on Uber and Lyft are almost daily, but there's a certain level of can't avoid it. Then there's a level of you guys could avoid this. This could be much better. And again, in a case like DoorDash, who is not in this, but we will be getting to for certain here about DoorDash this week. Then there's a level of why are 2/3 of your coders programming how to hide and deceive on the app, and only 1/3 are working on keeping the app working functionally, protecting security, things of that nature. Why are only 1/3 out of the whole allocated to doing the work that these platforms are supposed to do? Why are 2/3 allocating to lying, deceiving, and stealing? And how in anybody's book is that okay? So to the FTC, which I know listens, and to some of the bigger companies, which I know listen, guess what? You know what? I cannot wait. And I'm sorry to say this, but I cannot wait to watch you guys get taken apart. Those giants of which have participated in this bullshit. Excuse my language, guys, but I'm pretty heated. It's one thing when, because you guys will see these articles and go, oh, another Uber Lyft leak. Well, no, this is one that could have been prevented. And I'm pretty harsh on DoorDash today. So we will be getting back to the Uber and Lyft stuff for sure, because this is a big deal. This is a big deal. And when it happens, there's nothing that comes back to you, the driver. And this one actually was just on. So for any consumers or anybody who has never worked the app but uses Uber or Lyft, don't worry. This one was not a across the board leak like the 2017 59 million names and complete information that was leaked, that was both consumer and worker. This is just the drivers, just you drivers who watch this podcast, just you. You guys had your socials tied to your name, tied to a bunch of other information leaked to Meta, which most of you have probably either been on Facebook, you've explored it, you used to be on Facebook, you've deleted your account, who knows, you've locked it down. There is no locking down with Meta. Once you're on there, or Facebook, you're on there, you're in there. You can say delete it, you can say prove it to me that you've deleted it. It doesn't matter. In the end, they have your information. When you upload a picture to Facebook, they own it, not you. You no longer own your picture. You guys know that, right? What used to be this amazing platform for connecting with family members and sharing photos and this, that, and the other has now become so buried to even find those type of photos that you're looking for. But this whole platform is based off them owning everything you upload. You don't own it anymore. And if they want to use it, they can use it. So I'm sure there are some people who say, well, technically well, okay, I'd like to see you technically fight them on it then. I'd like to see somebody challenge it and win, because that hasn't happened yet. So to anybody who's saying, no, that's not exactly right, prove it. Prove it. I don't want to hear about it anymore. Prove it. Because you don't have the funding to take on this company. Nobody does. No, Facebook itself couldn't take it on. But nonetheless, all of you worried about TikTok, don't worry. They got your social tied to your name and everything else now too. So these companies are doing an absolutely F- job across the board with security, and have since day one, and they know it. There are some, we've had Gary Middleton and others on who are very familiar with security in cyberspace and whatnot. And there's a level of which you can't, damn, our raid, everything's going right, and we did have it protected. But when you're putting 2/3 DoorDash of your allocated programmers to work on stealing and deceiving and lying, and 1/3 towards the core of the platform, that one I would have a hard time being involved in legally and understand. I would have a hard time with you explaining to me, no matter how you explained it, why 2/3 of the coders are working on lying and deceiving and stealing. And they might as well call the department that, because that's exactly what they're doing. So we'll get back to some of that crap in a minute. Yeah, again, Uber and Lyft. I just wanted to use this title because this is the headline from yesterday's news and Tech Explore for the same article I was just talking about, which is Uber and Lyft unintentionally sent gig workers SSN and other crucial information to social media companies. Unintentionally. So guys, they're sorry. They didn't intend it to happen. It just happened. They didn't mean to do it. And they're really, well, no, actually it doesn't even say in here. It doesn't even say the words, and I've read 3 articles. I have not read any articles that say the words that I was about to say, that they're sorry about it. So to be honest, they're not even sorry about it. There's nothing they're going to do about it, and they're not sorry about it. Tough, deal with it. Right? Why not? It's added to the list of shitbaggery. New word, trademarked right here today. Wow. Boom, one story out of the way. Search ongoing for DoorDash driver in Pizza Hut assault. This is awesome. Love these. Police are looking for a DoorDash driver accused of assaulting a Pizza Hut employee over an order. This took place in Memphis, Tennessee. This took place yesterday on the 6100 block of Macon Road in Northeast Memphis. The female who was working at the Pizza Hut said the DoorDash driver got upset. And when she refused to hand over the order, I don't know why. We don't have that information. We are not privy to it yet, why she wasn't handing it over. I'm wondering if this is going to become a undocumented situation, because usually if she's not handing it over, he wasn't able to show on the app that he could proceed. And often, I've even been in the restaurants when this happens. Often that just means that the person couldn't speak English, because a lot of times I've heard them in the restaurants when I'm standing next to undocumented workers who they're just saying, hey, can you just show me completed, or whatever app you're on. We all know how this works with catering, other apps. Sometimes you just have to show, okay, yes, I'm picking it up. And the managers are trained to do that. Good managers are trained to do that, by the way. But a lot, like in my city, a lot of managers won't do that because they know nobody speaks English. And again, that's not a crime. However, when you're using a female's account, or you're a female using a male's account, and you know what? I've had restaurants tell me, I see that all the time. I see the wrong person picking up the order all the time. I've sat down and talked to restaurant owners who have said to me, I actually didn't know that wasn't allowed. And actually had one restaurant owner who's actually fairly familiar in this area, shout out to them blindly, huh? Who through me is aware that there's a little loophole in the Uber side of rideshare that allows you to rent your account out. Now, that loophole is being mended in many places, and in others, it's not being dealt with at all. But you are an independent contractor, so you can contract out your account to other contract workers. It depends on the state you're in. In all states, it should be enforceable to not only deactivate a driver who does such a thing, but to absolutely go after them legally. There should be, by the way, guys, again, let me be very clear here. Independent contractor status, which Mike Karubi and I talk about on the Be My Own Boss podcast all the time. Independent contractor status and independent contractor law. Every one of the 50 states that independent contractor law is in, which it is, all say pretty much the same thing. And in every single case, so let me just get ahead of anybody's comments here. In every single case, in every single state, doesn't matter what the app says, the independent contractor law takes precedence to any TOS crap that the platform throws at you. So if the platform says, well, you signed this, you clicked the box and agreed to this TOS, you know what? The independent contractor law in that state does not care. Judges are starting not to care. Judges are getting past this. Hey, they did have the click box. In fact, judges are very upset by this. It's just taking time to get people really with their heads wrapped around what many of us have known for a long time, that the scumbaggery never ends. So yeah, we've got this driver. The female said the DoorDasher refused to hand over the order. He pushed some items at her, and then he jumped the counter and chased her into the back, was physically threatening her. So that's awesome. Glad that that's going on too. Undocumented or not, that's just a reality of these apps. Again, nice vetting, DoorDash. And I hope you have everything coming to you in this holiday season that you deserve. Not that you, the company, wants, and not that Tony Hsu wants, but I hope you have every damn thing coming to you that you deserve. And you all know what it is. And guess what, guys? When I spoke with the FTC last year, DoorDash, you already have enough headaches. And here's me telling you straight up, you have enough headaches already. You have more headaches coming in the new year. And I'm not telling you something you don't know. You do. And guess what? On top of all that, you keep pushing these. I know you've got away with basically murder for years. But you damn well know that's changing now. And it doesn't have to do with anything about the presidential elections. I was talking about this before those even happened. This has nothing to do with the changing of the guard. This was coming about from the FTC on their own and the DOJ. They're coming after you, and they're coming after you in a completely different way than we've ever seen before. Because why? Because nothing they've tried to date has worked. And they know it. They're not stupid. I mean, we can get mad at the DOJ or the FTC for kind of like, why don't you guys do something about this? They're kind of in the same boat. It's not like all of them don't care about their job. Some of these people actually care a lot. And you know what? They just haven't found the angle to take them all down. Hence, RICO. RICO coming soon. So DoorDash also now, and this is new to the podcast, you guys, we finally have a DoorDash whistleblower. That's right. We finally have a DoorDash whistleblower who works for the company currently. And it has taken a long time, and it has taken a lot of people and a lot of, is this person to be trusted? Hence me, a lot of going through third parties and this and this and this. Not anymore. I have a direct line now. Now, can I get everything answered? No. Can I find out everything? No. I can only find out what they slide to me. But let's talk about the most recent DoorDash. First of all, what I call failure. Second of all, what I call failure, what they call feature. Let's go through it. So DoorDash now can import grocery lists from iOS reminders app. That sounds sketchy already to me. I got to tell you, that already sounds sketchy to me. And DoorDash is promoting it as, hey, if you have an iOS, you have a reminders app, you can make your grocery list on there and we can just access it. Okay. Interesting. Did you guys know that? Well, I'm sure you do, but if you guys don't remember, or if you're new here, especially if you're new to the gig economy, did you know that Uber and Lyft have access to customers' battery levels on your phones, both Android and iOS? Does anybody know why? Bump, ba-dum, bump, 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 bump. Anybody? That's right. It's so that if you're underneath 15% of your battery power on your phone, they can charge you more. That's why they do it, guys. They do it because of scumbaggery. Scumbaggery. God, we love that. And God, I love the audio podcast because I'm free out here. I can do what I want. I can say what I want. And if we gotta make it, it goes to, I'll try to premiere these on YouTube, but then they go to members only, guys. If you miss the premiere when it happens each week, then it will be in the members, because in the members, as Hannibal has told me anyway, I hope it's true, things are a little more protected. And I'm not saying that anybody like calling out the video, I'm not breaking any terms of service, but YouTube has a way of hurting your algorithm. But if you put something in members only, it takes it out of the feed. So I'll play them live and I'll put them immediately in members. I don't know what kind of effect that has. And we'll have to see, because I'm getting back to my roots of the audio podcast of kind of cutting loose on here, because I can't cut loose not only on YouTube, but on any social platform. You can't be completely honest on any social platform because they'll get very mad if you do that. Honesty is not encouraged in the social media platform realm. In fact, quite the opposite. Dishonesty, distrust, and non-transparency are what bring clicks and views. So that's what they're interested in. They're interested in the clicks and views and the view time. So whatever brings those in, that's what they're interested in. So I would say to you, YouTube, you should be very interested in this then. This should bring a lot of clicks and views because there's a lot of scumbaggery going on. In fact, we might have to use that term today in what we title this this podcast when we're all done here. And for those of you that don't know, you can find the Rideshare Rodeo audio podcast on any podcast player in the world. And I say this because even those of you listening on the podcast, on any podcast player, Spotify or whatever, realize we're on everything. So you can find it on everything. And if you want to be part of the live, you can do that on Podbean. Specifically, just create a free account and you can catch it live, and you can be in the live chat as we are doing this. And in the upcoming weeks, we will be doing a few that for sure uh, um, will be, live with sorry about that, guys. I had something going over here. Oh, okay. I thought this was something else coming in that was regarding this, so bear with me. But we will be doing some lives on the Podbean app, and I would love to see some of you guys from YouTube come over. We have a great group over on Podbean that when I do the lives, they love it. So catch us over there. But let's get back to this iOS reminders app. So what I had said about Uber and Lyft, Uber and Lyft are able to track your battery status. Well, the news that DoorDash has put out is that we're able to access your iOS reminders app. Do you know what else? They're able to access your battery. Yikes. I didn't see that in the article. I don't see them being proud of that. I don't see it at all. I don't see it anywhere. However, what did I just say about Uber and Lyft? So why on earth does DoorDash? Now, again, mostly workers are watching this podcast. But please, workers, make sure that you tell people this. Tell every DoorDash customer this. Because why on earth does DoorDash need to access the battery on a customer's phone? If I don't drive for DoorDash and I decide to use the crappy app to order food, I decide I'm gonna use the crappiest app in the world. I'm gonna use DoorDash. I'm gonna order some food to my house. Might get me an undocumented driver, might get me killed, might have to pay 1,300 times the price of what it would cost to just go pick it up. But I'm going to use the crap ass app anyway. Now, if I do that, okay, I decided to pay 1,300 times what I could if I just go pick it up. But now that I am doing that, why on earth does DoorDash need to know how much battery power my app has? I ordered the food. I do not see why you need my battery power. I just want to bring it up. I mean, how do you guys feel? Do you guys think that DoorDash should have access to anybody's battery? Do you think Uber and Lyft should? But let's stick on DoorDash because DoorDash is the one that's going to take the most hits in the new year. And I know a lot of Dashers are, I know a handful are doing okay, but no Dasher is doing as good as they ever were. Those days are gone. But in the new year, DoorDash is going to get it handed to them more than any other app. And do you know something else that's kind of funny about this is that part of the push behind this is going to be coming from Uber. And it makes sense, right? But Uber is going to be backing the DoorDash initiatives in the new year, which will then apply to them anyway. So they're it's almost like we're going to turn ourselves in for some crap we've done because DoorDash does it worse. And then the RICO case coming down is going to involve both. We're looking at some very cross-platform, cross-contaminated crap coming out in the new year. And to be honest, guys, I can't wait because the time has come. There's a lot of off-brand apps. We talk about them here all the time. Other people talk about them. So you guys just keep your ears open. Not everything is DoorDash, Uber Eats, Uber, or Lyft. That is 4 apps. And yes, they are the giants. But that is 4 apps that are going on. The catering space alone has more than that. So do some catering. Do some B2B last mile. Do some other apps. Find some local apps. There are all kinds of opportunities for online using of making money. In the rideshare market, it is way more difficult. However, we've seen hundreds of stories coming out lately, especially more than ever, about find your own clients. You know, Mike Drop Barbecue on YouTube. My friend Jeff talks about it all the time. Rideshare Professor talks about it. All these guys talk about it all the time. I've told you guys to have your own customers. Dumpling is based on have your own customers. Dumpling.us. Check it out, you guys. But yeah, so they needed a story to get out in front of this. about an iOS reminders app, so they can get into your reminders app, and if you put your grocery list in there, they can import it. And, okay, cool. I don't want you in my phone. How about that, DoorDash? I don't want you in my phone. Even if I'm working for the damn app, I don't want you in my phone. Why are you in my phone anyway? You should be look at you are as external as they come. You are supposed to be here. We all pay a lot of money for our phones. Some of us do it through plans and they get inflated costs on the plans or whatever, but we all pay for the phones in one way or another. Those are our phones. Why in the hell does DoorDash get to access everything on our phone? Because if it was up to me and I had to go through and personally decide which apps can access what, because we all have the feeling, I don't know, we all have the feeling we do, right? Because you can go to DoorDash and you can say, oh, motion and activity, only track my whereabouts when I'm using the app. And they even try to, again, data sale, right? They're trying to sell our data off. And one of the things you guys can notice is that they would love for you to be able to check on DoorDash, always monitor my whereabouts. But we know damn well you don't do that. You only say when using the app. I mean, you'd be an idiot to go in there and change that from when using app to all the time for DoorDash. First of all, it's draining your battery. Second of all, now they can see how much battery life you have. Not that those two tie together, but that's just funny to me. That's how full circle this crap has come. And to be honest, they're going to get it handed to them in the new year. They are. I hope that people realize this because it's a bigger deal than people think. It's a bigger deal than people think. Leave all your questions, comments, and concerns, or happiness, or questions, comments, concerns. Leave them all. You guys, I want to see all of them. For those of you that don't leave any on the video or on the audio podcast, either one, had your chance. I said, leave them, put them down. Let's see what you got. Because for any of the shills from these companies in this, because now they know, I mean, they're very aware who's spoken to the FTC. I'm not sure they understand who said what to the FTC or which people were asked what by the FTC or how long each meeting with those people who were brought in. But they're aware of who the people are. They're aware that David, other people that I know, meaning a lot of other people too, if like 3 or 4 people I know had this meeting, it wasn't just us. And I already know that too from the meeting itself. But my meeting, for example, went just shy of 2 hours. I've talked to one other person who this year had a meeting with them that went 15 minutes. Big difference. Ours was very involved because of para. I hope we talked about this last week because I'm very disgusted by this, but I don't really care. I know there was we talked about it on the round table, but maybe I didn't. I want to hit on it one last time at least. Uber Teen, guys, ban this. Delete it. Never use it for your child unless you don't care about them. And even then, have another adult step in and explain what Uber Teen is and see if the other adult thinks it's a good idea. Because you're not thinking with your head if you're thinking this is a safe feature or a good feature. And by the way, all the Uber Teen videos, unless they were done by creators on TikTok and things like that, the ones that Uber itself put up as Uber Teen videos, they pulled them all down just about 2 weeks ago. So I have a couple of them screenshot recorded. However, Uber has pulled them off even the TikTok platform. They've pulled them off because what they did was they got a bunch of creators to make the videos for them. In the beginning, it was theirs. They looked very professional, and they were pro shots. They were like, oh my gosh, and they were made by Uber. Uber paid to have these done. They paid. There's no creator involved. They paid to create commercials for Uber Teen. They are gone now. Can you find them on the internet? Probably still. Yeah, sure. But the fact they pulled them off TikTok and every other platform, it's more for the lawmakers. It's to show, oh yeah, we're not advertising that anymore. It's probably a bad idea. We're looking into it. Here's a $10 million. Just Let us have a little more time to look at. We know how all this works. We know about bureaucratic bullshit. And that's exactly what this is. And to the bureaucrats who now I am going to hit on something here, guys. With the changing of the guard next year, regardless of what you think of it, again, there are pros, there are cons. There always are. However, one thing for sure that's going to happen is no more of this crap. This bureaucratic stuff. I mean, we already know that they're headhunting to get rid of about 2/3 of the jobs in DC. And if you don't show up as a senator or House member, you can't hold your position. Well, that's going to be almost comical because none of them show up, both sides. That's just a both side rip, you guys. Okay. But yeah, so girl, 15 years old, Uber driver, said it was 19 years old, said it wasn't his account. He was just using the account, took the girl to school on an Uber teen ride. And then some people were saying, well, maybe he knew her. Well, if he knew her, why did he have to turn on Uber teen? Why didn't he just take her? And how did he know he'd be matched with her? But girl 15, taken to high school, raped at high school. Raped at the south gate of the high school entrance by a 19-year-old who said he took the account, he used the account of an uncle or whatever. I'm not going to get into those details. I'll put the link in the show notes for you guys. You can do your own investigating on this one. I don't always want to be the one where you're like, oh, well, maybe he's just exaggerating. You guys go read it. See if you think I'm exaggerating. I think it's pretty disgusting. And I think that, and what we read about, where was it? In the South Carolina thing that we talked about a few weeks back, that was one of the most brutal things I've ever heard in my life. And that will absolutely damage and scar that 11 and 13-year-old girl, those two girls from South Carolina who were moved up to North Carolina and then brought back both times by drivers on Uber Teen. And one's 13, one's 11. Those guys are scarred for the rest of their lives because of what occurred at the stop. But then they get driven up there and driven back, both used like through the app. Are you kidding me? Come on, guys. Like, this is Uber Teen needs to be burnt in hell and left there forever. Sorry. Do not let your kids do it. Drivers, if you're just like, God, I see those offers come up, and if you're very unfamiliar, I'm not blaming you. What I'm telling you to do right now is to go into your driver settings in Uber or Lyft and turn off the teen rides. It's a simple toggle. So, because there's no reason that you should even see them come up, because we all know that unlike the food platforms, rideshare is different in one way, and in many ways, but in one way specific. You only have 3 to 5 seconds to make a decision. You could be in the middle of an intersection. So just toggle it off. It's right there next to like Uber Pet. Are you willing to take dogs? No. Because I mean, like I can attest from my area. Might be good on Sunday mornings. Might not be the worst thing to take dogs if you're a dog lover. But Sunday afternoons, that's the stupidest thing you can do, because guess what? You will be picking up a wet dog in my city because everybody takes their dogs swimming in the summer. So I take my dog swimming in the summer. I just do it in my car on my time. I don't do it to an Uber driver who's going to make $2 more for transporting my wet dog. Because those of us that have dogs know that the smell of wet dog does not come out of your car for a long time, unless you're very persistent about it. On the days that my son and I might take our dog, we're going to clean the car real good because I always am working in the car. But a lot of drivers don't have that mentality, especially with the pay rates being what they are. So, Uber Teen, we should be way beyond this. Anytime we mention Uber Teen, it should just be shut it off, turn it off, throw it away. And if you can't figure it out, delete the app. And if you're the parents sending your kids in the Uber Teen, realize these stories I'm telling you, I hope you heard them. And if you keep doing it, it's going to happen to your kid too. And there's nobody to blame but yourself. And I don't even want to hear about it. I don't care. I mean, I absolutely care that you're a horrible parent, but stop putting your kids in with strangers. Okay? I'm not perfect. I might have hitched a ride in my past. Maybe somebody else did. But we grew up in different generations, and that was on me. That wasn't my parents clicking a box saying he can hitch rides. Uber, Lyft, you've been warned. And now, oh God, guys, this is brutal. So on top of the problems that we have seen in New York City, this is the one we're going to end with today. I'm losing my voice a little bit this week, guys. But this is the on top of the crazy amount of layoffs. Let's be nice and call it 60 or 40% laid off or 50%. Because I think we all know it's 3/4. I don't have an exact percentage. So we'll just call it 50%. Let's say that 50% of New York drivers were already laid off rideshare. Then they've now been using that statistic as paramedics in New York only make $44,000. And after taxes and after expenses, Uber drivers are now making $53,000. Well, yeah, after you laid off over 50% of them, maybe. And not even a whole. They're only basing that on the full-time workers left out of the 50% that were gone. Most drivers work under 14 hours a week. 85% of them work under 14 hours a week. That doesn't qualify them for full-time. So when you give a statistic like this, you cut the amount of drivers in New York City in more than half of them are not able to get on the platform anymore. And the other 40, 50% that are still able to, out of that, only 15% of them work full time. So these type statistics are complete bullshit in my mind. Not worth it. They're not even worth hearing. But here's another thing. So Uber says it may effectively lay off thousands of New York drivers if the TLC, the Taxi and Limousine Commission, decide to raise pay standards again. So the rideshare giant argued that the city's first in the nation minimum pay rule have made their services too expensive, leading to a decline in trip volume. No shit. Even passing it along to the client, excuse my language, guys, but even passing it along to the customer, which they do, even taking it away from the drivers, which they do, even just constantly hurting the customers, hurting the drivers, hurting the system, destroying it, getting people off. Half of you can't even get on here anymore, whatever. On top of that, now Uber warned that further increases in pay come at the cost of many drivers' ability to use the app. Well, you've already done that, Uber. And again, part of this goes to the New York City system too, because you guys, this is the fight that's been stupid forever. This is the holding point fight that I'm talking about. This is what the FTC and the DOJ are now realizing. Hey, everything we've tried up till now ain't working. These fines ain't working. Nothing is working and nobody gives a shit at all. So it's time for our governing bodies to wake up. Uber's senior economist wrote in a post on Medium, which was shared by New York Metro ahead of its publication. You can increase, this is a quote, you can increase prices all you want, but if fewer people are taking trips, you end up hurting the people you're trying to help. That's a fact. And I hate to side with Uber on that. I'm just siding with, what is his name? I'm going to give him I'm just going to give him a little classification here because he deserves it. Rodrigo Mosier wrote that in Medium. That's about as simple as I've seen a sentence be coherent, explain it properly, and yeah, there it is. That's what all your stupid city bureaucratic bullshit has done. So again, here's the quote from him. And I'm not trying to side with Uber. I just slammed him, right? Okay, you guys all know this. So here's the quote. You can increase prices all you want. This is about the city saying that mandating they must pay the drivers more because it never works. You got to let free economy come and go. If people want to work for a penny, let them. I'm not going to do it. You're not going to do it. And I doubt anybody else is. But this is how they have to. Before it was just have 10 million drivers when only 1 million are needed, and they'll fight to the bottom for these scraps. Well, that well's running a bit drier. And so now it's we're going to make you pay them more. Okay, do you think these companies are so stupid that simply doing it that way, they're not just going to go, okay, less drivers. Done. More payment to the customers. But here it is. Again, the quote, you can increase prices all you want, but if fewer people are taking fewer trips, you end up hurting the people you're trying to help. Fact. Fucking fact. Excuse my language. Uber doesn't cite a specific number or percentage of its workforce that could be docked or a formula for how such mass layoffs would work. We already know the ones, not the one, the moms, the part-time moms who Mike Ruby and I talk about. And those are the first ones to go. They won't get on the platform. But a spokesman for the company said that depending on the size of the increase, meaning the pay, thousands of drivers will be permanently deactivated from the app. This is New York City alone. We're not talking about Boston yet, which Mike and I have been talking about all the time on the Be My Own Boss podcast. This is New York City. And their response is thousands of drivers will be permanently deactivated from the app if an increase happens. So I'm curious how that, when you say it like that, here we are all the time talking about, hey, this was a wrongful deactivation, right? Wrongful deactivations. They're basically saying they're going to wrongfully deactivate you by the thousands if this crap passes. I mean, they're not even beating around the bush anymore to go, well, we'll have to find a way to not let drivers get on as easy. They're basically, now they're just saying thousands of drivers will permanently be deactivated from the app. Really? Because that like right there is like signing, yes, we wrongfully deactivate people every day here at Uber. I mean, you guys got to watch your words, man. Watch your words. Words are like the internet. They're forever. So the TLC is expected to announce the new pay standards by the end of this month for drivers in high volume services, which encompasses only Uber and Lyft at this time, but also Uber Eats too, guys. Uber is already pushing the TLC to lower the per mile rates paid to drivers by 6%, which would take it from $1.36 to $1.27 per mile. The company says pay should be reduced to reflect the fewer costs borne by drivers, such as lower prices for gas and used cars. Man, I swear, I feel like I feel like I made up a joke article and I'm reading it, but this is AM New York. If you guys are not familiar, it's amny.com. You guys can go there and find lots of good, fun news. The company says pay should be reduced. Oh, right to that. So what's more, the company accuses New York City and state regulators of festoing riders with disproportionate high taxes and fees compared to passengers in other cities. 13.9% of fares on average in the New York City area go to these fees, such as a $2.75 congestion surcharge to enter Manhattan below 96 compared to 9.2% in Chicago and just 1.3% in the adjacent city of Boston. So you got 1.3% of regulatory fees going to Boston from the Uber Lyft platform, but you got 13.9% of Uber and Lyft fees in New York City going to the regulatory boards. Again, a question that we brought around in the beginning of this podcast. Where's this money go? It's not going back to the drivers. It's not going back to the customers. And I know for a damn fact, well, I can ask anybody here, if you live in New York City, are your taxes cheaper this year? Oh, wait. Although I don't have to, because not one of you can say that unless you've had a major change in your financial landscape, not one of you can claim that your taxes are cheaper this year than even in the past 5 years. That's impossible. Probably the past 20, 25 years, probably every year consecutively. It's more. Doesn't matter who's in power, you guys. Everybody needs to start understanding that. Doesn't matter who's in power. So, so both companies have heavily criticized the utilization rate model, meaning, how DoorDash does their dash time and their active time. That's called BS, and BS equals more BS. That should just be real time. But utilization rate is basically that. How much of each hour that you're on the app are you utilizing the app? So both companies have heavily criticized the utilization rate model and called on the city to revise its driver pay formula. But criticism is far from all they've done in the protest. On both Uber and Lyft, drivers this summer frequently found themselves locked out. We know about this. We talked about this many times. You can go back and check any of the elder Rideshare Rodeo podcast episodes. You can probably find one that's literally called Locked Out. So go through if you need to learn about that a little more, or Google it, or go to uberlyftdrivers.com and you can find all the information there. Locked out, unable to accept rides for hours or even days at a time. The TLC drivers accuse the companies of doing this to juice the utilization rate and thus reduce the amount of minimum pay needed to cover expenses like gas and car maintenance. This is just crazy, man. We need people who don't take a bunch of regulatory money and then all of us go, woo, glad you're doing that. You can get on it and make sure drivers get paid more. Not once in one of these models, not once have the drivers made more. Not once. Prop 22 can maybe argue for a second, but not really in the rideshare landscape. I know a ton of people out in California who do rideshare, and they don't make more than they ever did. In fact, they're making less than they ever did right now. And that's still under Prop 22. Prop 22 is a joke. If it helps you on other platforms, that's one thing. But that was a big mistake. That was only the only reason Prop 22 exists in California is because of AB 5. And all of that happened in January of 2020. All of this happened right then. The pandemic hadn't even started. Nobody knew it was going to apply to delivery. Nobody knew it was going to apply to shopping apps. And those are the ones who really maybe can still say maybe that they do a little better with Prop 22 money, but still not enough. And I can tell you this, California is hemorrhaging people. Nobody can afford to live there anymore. Ask somebody from California. You all know some. I know a bunch. You all know some. Call somebody that you know in California, and they don't even have to do gig work. They could be a computer programmer, and maybe they're still making it work, but you call them, ask them. They could live in Silicon Valley. They could live in San Francisco. They could live in LA. They could live inland or anywhere. Call them and ask them, has your cost of living risen in the last 2 years more than you think the rest of the country? And even if they're not political people, you're going to get an earful like you've never heard before. It's next to impossible to live in California. So anyway, that's going on. That's awesome. And before I lose my voice completely, I guess, is that a good place to end it for the week? I think it is. Is that enough venting for the week? I think it is. Because we got the roundtable coming up and some other things this week. But I'm getting over a cold that I had last week. I'm a little ramped up today. I'm a little pissed off, you can tell. And I got no good news for you this week, guys. I got nothing. I mean, I don't mean that there's nothing out there. I just mean every piece of news that I have been hit with has been all extremely negative. And the only thing that's good that's coming out of it is the FTC and the DOJ and the RICO case. Because this is going to be an all-encompassing case. And luckily, mom and pops and smaller catering companies and things like that, they will fall under the radar. But once they hit a certain size, they will be in the radar as well, too. And they should be. Everybody should be once the radar needs to catch you in it. But the giants, they're going to be taking a tumbling hit. And I've heard a lot of people say, well, doesn't this open the opportunity for more rideshare companies, more delivery companies, new ones as they take hits? Look at guys, we've only had one city in the United States ever kick Uber and Lyft out. And at the time, they were in a much better situation than any other city in the United States to do so. It was Austin, Texas, and they had three rideshare startups operating already in Austin. Uber and Lyft were also in there, so there were a total of 5. When they kicked Uber and Lyft out, the 3 startups thought, well, with Uber and Lyft gone, we'll rage this market, right? I mean, even I would think that, right? Most people would think that. Unfortunately, without all the push, without all the incentives, without all the craziness going on that sometimes clutters people's minds, for some reason, rideshare dropped so dramatically that the 3 companies all went out of business, or the one that's still in business left Austin. None of them stayed. And so by the time the 3 left, the city of Austin was begging on their hands and knees for Uber and Lyft to come back. Do you think Uber and Lyft just came back and said, okay, we'll just turn on? Or do you think they had a list of demands behind the scenes? Leave it in the comments. And I'll respond to every damn comment you guys leave because I love you. And with that said, guys, be safe, earn smart. Rodeo.
She was just a baby.